infiltrations of communism into our newborn Republic of Vietnam on her own soil for more than 50 years ago. We are here to tell American people that communism is here in the United States, and they are aggressively influencing American life every single day. And I've saved the sharing experience living under communism regime to other speakers, including our future leader, Captain Hùng Cao. Sadly, and this is also to anyone who on the Democrat side, the Democrat Party today is not the Democrat Party that you know. It's the Communist Party. The communists hate individual freedom, democracy, human rights, and have a heart contempt for the constitutional republic, because these are obstacles blocking them from taking total control on the people. Let's take a look at the screen. You see the U.S. Constitution. It's the breeding document and was written with all conservative values. And it has been with American people every step of the way. 245 years later, where are those conservative values? Most Vietnamese Americans would agree that the playbook of Marxism is being implemented exactly the same way as they experienced more than 50 years ago. Communism is the root cause of all Americans facing today. Where is the belief in individualism and opportunity, or are we turning our back on our founding fathers by accepting socialism of spreading the wealth and all radical agenda being funneled through our kid and like-minded generation? America is being taken over by communism as conservative values being stripped away without even knowing. We all take freedom for granted. Why can't America defy her own border, embrace her culture, and require American English as primary requirement into liberal? These are all from Karl Marx Communist Manifesto. And its primary target is our young generation through education system. I as well again say that matter for our speaker and Hùng Cao. Well, we look out again Obama and Biden vaccine mandate. It is because the power of U.S. Constitution still exists, at least back then. However, the power is now being dismantled slowly right in front of our eyes. As we are allowing them to install radical church on the bench and in our Supreme Court system. Explain to me, a pedophile sympathizers on the Supreme Court, how that work out for your child's protection. From the painful lesson of Republic of Vietnam, this is our word to all Americans. We don't negotiate with communists. We don't give up. We don't give in. We defeat them. How do we do that? By electing an experienced conservative candidate like Captain Hùng Cao, who also happened to be the victims of communism and fortunate enough to escape to this freedom land. He needs our support to be elected into Congress and representing us as the voice of we the people and exercise emphasize his commitment to put all conservative values back to where they belong. Can I hear everyone to say, if when I ask you, are you ready? I want to hear your raise your voice loud. In this fight together. Yes. I cannot hear you. Yes. Thank you. Now may I invite our first speaker of the day, Mr. Tran, as a GOP candidate. Please come on board.
I guess maybe I'm so special that he was like stuttering when he announced my name. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful speech, and I would definitely encourage you to continue to support the community and support Hùng Cao in Congress, right? And just a quick announcement first for a dear friend, Ann Tudor. She has an event at 3 o'clock. Her group organization is called the American Minority Engagement Network, or AMEN. And the objective here is to get people to come out and vote and support and save this country. You can do it many, many, many ways. In fact, I heard it today. He said, well, I'm retired, I want to get involved, and the only thing that I really can do is watch all the videos, take notes, and actually why videos? Videos because you can actually hear from the candidate's mouth what he or she says. And then use that to encourage others to vote, to be informed, to donate, to volunteer. And to me, just that alone is extremely significant, right? So think about what you can do to get Captain Hùng Cao in Congress. And yes, we will ask you for your money. And yes, we will ask you for your vote. And yes, we would ask you to tell your friends, your families, your colleagues, your neighbors to come out and vote on May 21st. That is important. And a quick round of applause to all of you, because it's Sunday and you drove all the way out here to listen to this, and I appreciate it. A round of applause for you. Having run for Congress before, another one I want to let you know, it takes a lot out of you. It's constantly 24/7 and some. Okay? And the best person that can support you in, or in this case, Hùng Cao to run, is his spouse. So I want to recognize April. Please stand up for a round of applause. I know JR is back there as a campaign manager, and yes, he will ask you for a check. However, right, maybe I'm biased, that I would say the campaign manager is over there, and JR would agree with me, right? So folks, at the end of the day, there are many things we can say about Hùng Cao, right? And as a friend, I can tell you that he's a hard-working man. He's working a full-time job, raising 5 kids, running the household, and by the way, I want to recognize his oldest son right here. Please stand up. He will attend a Naval Academy. So who knows, we're going to see a next admiral from the United States. Hùng Cao II. That's how it's done, folks, right? So for me, as Vietnamese Americans, I look at, and I guess I'm a little older now, and I start to sound like my parents. That's a good thing. Maybe that's a good thing. Thank you. I'll let them know that. Is what? When you look at the person, yes, he's a candidate. There's many things that say great things about him. But you know what I look at it? I look at his wife, and I look at his children. That's how I know what kind of man he is. Because who he is a reflection of his family. And I can honestly say that I fully endorse Captain Hùng Cao for Congress in the 10th Congressional District. Yeah! I think he's a little bit biased, right? Because his dad's running for office. But thank you for that. You know, make sure that you get, extra food tonight. Yeah, that's good. So there are many things I can say about Hùng Cao and his policy. But one thing while I'm sitting here, thinking about what should I say, and it's informative, entertaining, but also allows you to take away and encourage your friends, families, neighbors to go out and vote on the 21st. And that is, maybe you missed it, immigration. Right? Like Hùng Cao, he came here when he was 4 years old. I came here all fresh off the boat at 11 years old with 2 words of English and 2 pair of clothes. And by the way, I learned yes and no on an airplane to get some ice cream, which I did not recognize the package, by the way. Okay? Yes. Oh, he got the joke. And I will pay you. Ultimately, folks, dear America is the American dream. And I haven't heard a lot of that recently. You know why? Because the dream is broken. And we need to change that. And Hùng Cao, our next congressman, will remind us that America is a great nation on earth. When you can get here at 4 years old, do everything, and actually serve our country proudly, and that he continues to serve us in Congress in 2022. Right? So, comment about immigration. One keyword, without saying anything else. Yes, Hùng Cao, I, all of you, encourage immigration. We're a melting pot. Look around. As long as it is done legally. Right? So Hùng is going to be the one that's going to say, look at me. I don't need to say anymore. Right? Perfect example. Not many people in Congress can say or do that. We're pouring illegal immigration. By the way, I don't want to sound negative, but you know who else is coming over? You're thinking, Latin America and all that. But if people can come over, anyone can cross over. Could be CCP, for that matter. Right? So be very, very careful. So I want to encourage you to go out and vote for his nomination. And that's one step to move forward to win in the general election. I'm going to end here real quick to talk about Ms. Wexler, his challenger, because we got to think the next step. Okay? For her, she's voting, and Hope can give you the exact number. I can guarantee you over 90% that she's voting with Pelosi. So remember that. If you vote for Wexton, or you're voting for Pelosi. And we need someone in Congress to fight back. So I encourage you to go out there, donate, volunteer, do whatever you can. Encourage people to come out and vote next week to get him started. So with that, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Matt. That was a very good speech. The next keynote speaker I would like to invite is Ms. CHIểng. I met her the first time when she went to Captain Hùng Cao, the first event I went to, and her speech was very
most important issue for this midterm election. Obviously, there are a lot of important issues, but to me, the most important issue is the threat of Marxism, to me, the most important issue for this midterm election is Marxist and communist ideology, the threat to our country and to all our institutions, from public schools to the military. What they call the wokeness, such as CRT, such as diversity, oppressor and oppressed, equity, may be new to a lot of Americans. Not to me, not to us. People who, we have seen it before, and we, those people that are from a communist country, we are familiar with all this. Today's mob culture that has been made mainstream by the Democratic Party is the Red Guard culture of Mao's Cultural Revolution. It is a total disregard to our laws and our institutions. It is used any means necessary. It doesn't matter whether it's cheating, intimidation, coercion, rioting, even violence. In 2020, we saw the chaos on the street in our country. I saw the same thing as a little girl in China during the Cultural Revolution. This time is to threaten the Supreme Court justice. What else remind me of the Chinese communist, communist China? Censorship. China has the propaganda ministry. Now we have our Ministry of Truth. The Marxists want to tear down our entire society. This is the biggest issue of 2022 midterm election. The race is not between Republican parties or Democratic Party. The race is between American people and the Marxists. We do not want to see America become the country that we left behind, like China, like Vietnam. This is the reason I'm supporting Hùng Cao. This is the reason that we are behind him. Not only that Hùng Cao has amazing record of accomplishment and achievement that made him the most qualified candidate, he also is the only candidate who really understands the communist threat to our country. Understanding is not from books. His understanding is from his personal and family experience. He is the only candidate who knows how to defeat communism. We have to send him to the Congress. We only have less than a week left. Let's work harder and win this primary. Thank you.
I told you so, did I? Speak very moving, right? The next speaker, I have a privilege to call to invite Mr. J, the campaign representative. Please come on board. Ms. Alyssa had a difficulty at the end last week, so she had to excuse, and that's the reason why I have a privilege to get in touch. We had a call and he answered right away, so he will come up and come on. Thank you, JR, for contacting him. Pulling out, I never seen him before, so this is a difference.
many candidates are similar. And so if, let's say, two candidates are twins almost, it gives you a chance to go through both of them. So you're not choosing one over the other. You can choose one, and if that one doesn't win, the second one will win with your vote. And lastly, it allows the candidates to work together. And working on the campaign, working with the other people in the other campaigns, working together, we have a real good working relationship. And so at the end of this primary, after Hùng Cao wins next week, we'll all work together, and we'll be happy to work together. And that's the good part, the positive part of this shares voting. Of course, being a guy who loves to write campaign slogans, I would say, what do we need? What do we need in Congress? More cow, less pork.
All right. Thank you, Mr. J. That he went. I mean, a lot of people just doesn't understand when they go door to door, knocking on people's houses. A lot of people that is not aware of the ranking system, and we literally have to stand at the door and explain to them. So this is all credit to, and I also want to thank you too that with the help for this particular event, beside myself, Ms. Tran, she's represented CT printing, being a very important person in getting all this printing out. And another person is which you wanna hear him next is Michael Tran. And everybody, please give a big hand of applause for them for supporting me for them. Thank you. Next person I would like to invite is the sponsor himself. It's a Michael Tran. Come up, please. And majority of the Vietnamese American community are quite familiar with him, but his name. And I'll let the rest speak up by himself.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for making time to be here. I know this is Sunday and we have a lot of activities. And a lot of people texted us saying that they have traffic jam, so I hope that they can come later on. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, some of you may know me when I knock doors. So first of all, I thank you for answering the doors and accepting the invitation to come here. And a lot of people are driving all the way from Maryland, from Richmond, from other counties in support of Captain Hùng Cao. Thank you so much. I actually don't know how to say, because I'm moved by your support, your love for Captain Cao, and your belief and your confidence in him. And I believe that if you are in the 10th district, you have your vote for Captain Cao. Is that correct? Yes. Yes. Will you vote for Captain Cao on May 21st? Thank you. Right before, you can go to the website, Hùng Cao for Congress, and check for your voting location. I mainly knock doors in Manassas City, so I say, oh, it's the Mass High School. That is the only place I know. And I would like to give thanks to another person. That is Miss Antudo. Maybe Mr. Trong mentioned before. And Mr. Do, can I have the army training? The picture of the army training, the blue one. Yes, because Antudo, you know that she has the army organization. That is the organization that is focused on the grassroots movement. She knows that the only way that we can elect the representatives that is of the people, by the people, and for the people is this is from the grassroots, from each of you. And here you see, in some districts, and in some times in the history, you have your congressmen or congresswomen or your senators that don't serve you. That don't serve you. You need to change. And how you change? You need to connect to the people. You need to connect to the voters. You need to connect to your neighbors. And then, because the votes is the most important thing, people know who to vote. They don't cast the vote by just the name. They don't cast the vote by just the background. They cast the vote to the people they believe can go to Capitol Hill and serve them. That is why she cast the confidence in Captain Cal, and she has the event over here. This is from 3 to 6 p.m. You can come anytime, and you can join the Army organization. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't see any momentums that we have right now in 2022. A lot of us will say this 2022 is the most important midterm election in our history. It's going to shape our direction. And the majority of the voters in the polls, you see all the polls, even the polls of the elects, they say that the majority are seeing the country going to the wrong direction. We need to turn it around. This country has been turned upside down so fast. We got to do something to stop it. And even in this Virginia 10, we have a radical congresswoman. That's why we need to unseat her. Everything's going to start from May 21st by electing Captain Cal as our GOP nominee and take on Jennifer Wexton in November. And Mr. Thôn, can I have the back of the invitation card? With the votes and the fun fact about Captain Cal. Because I just had the idea. When I knocked the doors, I gave the invitation card to this event, but I thought that they may not make it. So I need to leave some information for them. So the first part is the principal values of Captain Cal and what he's going to fight for us. The second is the rank and trust system, so people know who to vote. And the last one is the fun fact about him, about his name actually. For the start of the program, in the beginning of the program, Mr. Brandon gave thanks to everyone who served in our military. We appreciate your service, and you are all heroes. This year we have a record number of veterans, heroes, running for Congress. And here we have Captain Cal, a hero, and his name in Vietnamese means hero. 4 letters. You see the same thing here? Hung, H-U-N-G, and hero, H-E-R-O. So this year, 2022, we're going to send Captain Hùng Cao to Congress because we're going to send a hero to Congress. So can you say with me, I say let us send, you say home to Congress, and then I say let us send, you say hero to Congress. Can you do it? Yes, thank you. So let us send home to Congress. Let us send hero to Congress. Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, your next congressman representing the 10th District of Virginia, Captain Hùng Cao.
Thank you so much for being here. And I want to thank all the people that put this together, Brendan and Tran. Thank you for organizing this, and Michael, and just the movement that's been behind us. You know, we have close to, well, actually, we have pretty much more donors than all the candidates combined, and that shows you the grassroots movement that's coming behind before us here. Sorry, I'm trying to not get blinded by that light here. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the son of 2 countries, right? I was born in Vietnam, and I was raised as Vietnamese, you know, by a Vietnamese family, and taught the Vietnamese values. But then we lost our country, and this amazing place called America gave us hope, right? And from that hope, we were given this amazing ladder of opportunity where you have to climb up yourself. Nothing's handed to you. You have to work yourself. And we all know that what that is. The Vietnamese people were, the Vietnamese Americans were like we call ourselves Americans with Vietnamese roots. We came to this country and we worked hard and we did the most menial things and we rose up. We own shops now. We run businesses. We did everything this country allowed us to do. And likewise, my parents did the same thing. We came here and you know, we didn't have a lot, and there was nothing my father could do as an agricultural expert, right, with a PhD in agriculture. So we went to Africa. We developed Africa, you know, West Africa, and then they came back here. I didn't learn English until I was 12, but I was able to climb that ladder of opportunity. I went to Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology, the very first class to graduate from there. I went to the Naval Academy. I went to Naval Postgraduate School. I have a master's in physics. I went to MIT, went to Harvard. I'm a Navy captain. And I did everything that I could do that this country allowed us to do. And I'm sure my parents would have wanted me to be a doctor or an engineer, but I wanted to give back to this country everything I got from it. And that's why I served in the military, and to protect this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I fought in places like Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, went to Pakistan. I went to Albania. I dove into the ocean to recover bodies from the bottom of the ocean, including John F. Kennedy Jr., his wife, and his sister-in-law. I recovered planes. I did everything that this country asked me to do. And for years, I sacrificed. And my family sacrificed. My poor wife, when she was 8 months pregnant with my oldest son, I had to deploy to, we were invading Iraq. And we were expecting 40% casualties for the invasion. And I went there knowing that I may not return or ever meet my son. And I had to do the same thing that many of our parents had to do. We had to, you know, sacrifice. And I wrote letters to him saying, "This is my, you know, hey son, you're 10 years old now. You're double digits. Son, you're 16 years old. You're about to drive a car. Son, you're 18 years old. You're a man now." These are the things I had to do because you know what? This country and all the values of liberty, life, freedom, it's worth fighting and dying for. And we all know that. The Americans with Vietnamese roots, we understand that because we came here. We came here when our country fell, and we came here and adopted this country. And I was not going to allow my son to grow up in a world where he didn't have a wake up one day and not have a flag to stand under or a country called his own. So that's why we sacrificed, and we did these things. And after 30 years, you know, I looked around, and the enemy had snuck in from the backside. And it's like Chief Van Fleet said, it's this dark enemy that comes in the middle of the night, and we call it communism, we call it socialism, we call it Marxism, we call it equity. These are the enemies of democracy. This is the enemy of everything we stand for, and what we the Americans with Vietnamese roots came to this country for. This is why we escaped, and they're turning this country into everything that we hated, everything that we escaped from. The enemy is here. It's in our backyards, and we have to stand up and we have to fight. And the fight is now. We can't send statesmen to the Congress anymore. It's not time to be nice anymore. We have to go in there and fight. We have to send warriors in there to fight for everything we believe in. Because if you don't, I'm telling you right now, when America's the Alamo, there is no other Alamo for us to run to when America falls. And you know, there's other dark times as well. You know, Roe versus Wade is about to be overturned. Tomorrow they're going to announce this early. They're supposed to announce it in June. And they're going to most likely overturn it. But what it does is, all it does is push it down to the states. So in Virginia, as you know, under Governor Northam, they allow abortion all the way up until birth or even post-birth. Remember, under Northam, you're allowed to let the baby just die on the table. Right. Worse yet is in California. California Bill 2223 allows the parents to be exempt from any kind of prosecution up to 28 days after birth. That means you have the right to murder your child 28 days after birth. Ladies and gentlemen, this is evil. This is worse than what China can do. This is a fight for our lives and our souls. We as a nation are going to be judged from this, and I will not be on the wrong side of history on this. I will fight because I spent an entire lifetime defending all American lives, born and unborn. And I will not allow this to happen in our country. Because I'm telling you right now, this is the most evil thing I've seen. And you don't think it can happen, but it does. We've seen it with the Nazis. The Nazis did this, right? They'll take Jewish babies and just take the legs and just smash the babies and kill them. You think that can't happen in this country? Look what's been going on. We have to wake up. We have to wake up and tell them no more. We will not give way and we will not yield. We have to stand and we have to fight. Because I've seen what it looks like for a country fall apart. I saw it in Iraq. I saw it in Afghanistan. I saw it in Somalia. You know, I've seen it in Vietnam and all other places in Africa. This can happen here. And it's the time for the immigrants to stand up and say, no, you don't understand what it's like. You have no idea what it's like to stand under an authoritarian regime where they tell you what to do, what to think, what to say. And this is why we have to stand up. And that's why May 21st, you have to get out there. You have to get all your friends and vote. Because this is a call for our posterity. This is what we're going to answer to when we stand in front of God and He says, why did you not stand up and do something about this? Well, you know, I thought someone else was going to do it. We can't do that. We can't allow that to happen ever again. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not alone. I'm going in there with a coalition. I have a coalition of 42 men and women that I've fought with in special operations, Green Berets, SEALs, combat controllers, pararescuemen, Marine Special Operations. We're part of what's called SEAL Pack. There's 42 of us that are going in and we're linking arms and we're going to fight for this Constitution we've defended for 30 years. And we're not going to give that in. So we're going to be 20% of the Republican voice. And also with that, I already have mentors in Congress who are willing, who I've served with, that are taking me alongside to teach me. So I'm not going in there trying to figure out where the bathroom is the first 2 years. I'm going in there and I already know what we're going to do. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have oversight committees for each and every one of the committees. There's going to be oversight committees for the House Armed Services Committee, oversight committee for the Intelligence Committee, oversight committees in every single committee that holds those committees accountable. Any committee that gives up our freedoms and our rights to, like the World Health Organization, no, we don't do that anymore. We are Americans. We are Americans, and this is our country. And we're not going to give way to some foreign power to tell us what to do. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we need is for you to step up. Next Saturday, we need for you to come up there, bring your friends, bring everybody you know. We have to vote because there's a lot of rhinos out there that are running, and we can't afford to give this way to, give the Congress to rhinos. We have to put in there people willing to fight, and I'm willing to fight. I fought for you. I fought for you and I bled for you, and I'm not going to stop now. Not now, not ever. You know why? Because I have to answer to them, to my kids. I have to answer to God. And I'm telling you right now, I'll do it. I'll do it or I'll die trying. I want you to stand up there and give some speeches. I want to turn to you. I want to know what you think about things. But right now, there's a lot of things to fix in this country. It's like that junk drawer that you have that you shove all your junk in there. There's a lot of junk in there, but we have to take care of all these little issues one at a time. So I want to open up the floor to any kind of questions you may have.
All right. Let's start with the first. Just want a friendly reminder. We'll have 1 minute to express your questions and your concerns, and then we'll let Captain Hong go at it, answer the question, and then possibly a follow-up, and then for that, we call it done for that particular person.
Thank you. This is on actions to legally protect those who are privately working Afghanistan, escape rescue, and Ukraine escape rescue.
Thank you so much. So I helped push some legislation from Congressman McCall that addresses just that. All the people, look, our country left behind thousands of people. They abandoned them. And actually, when I say our country, I mean one person did this. And he did it before, right? Joe Biden did this in Afghanistan. You understand that I left Afghanistan in January 2021. Stable enough. And 6 months later, he caused this to happen. This is the same man that in 2010, when I was in Iraq, he went over there to negotiate the status force agreement, which gives basically protection to our troops over there. And he failed to obtain the status force agreement, causing us to be kicked out of Iraq. And the rise of ISIS, one of the most deadly terrorist regimes, right? Go back to 1975. Who voted to abandon Vietnam? Joe Biden, a young congressman. This man has ruined everything that he's touched. He has destroyed everything that he's touched. In 50 years in political office, he's destroyed every single thing that he's touched. He's incompetent. Not only that, now he's not in his right mind. So somebody else is pulling the strings, but he is responsible. And so, yes, we did push this legislation to help, any sort of patriot who's trying to right the wrong that our country has done.
I agree with that gentleman before that we go into the primary, so we may have three non-identical candidates. So for you, you said there's many issues, trouble that we face it right now. Can you list in priorities what is the most trouble issues and what you're going to resolve those issues? Not just the national-wide, not just the federal, but also in the vicinity and beyond the vicinity. Thank you.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you so much. So right now, the economy is the most deadly thing for our country, right? I mean, I just filled up our car today. It was $70-something, and it's just, all it is just a Honda Odyssey. You know, it's not like when I was filling up my Suburban. It was a Honda Odyssey. It cost us $77 to fill it up. And it's unreal. It went 50% from last year, or a year and a half ago when President Trump was in office. 50%. This is worse than when Jimmy Carter, remember those days of Jimmy Carter, everybody's standing there based on your license plate. On odd days you go on certain license plates go, and even days another license plate goes. This is the same person, you know, that again, remember that they took pictures together because they're one-minded. But I'm telling you right now, we have to fix the economy. And the way to fix it, we have to be energy independent. Because the first thing that's going to go is when the price of gas and diesel and fuel goes up, everything goes up with it. The price of diesel has skyrocketed, even beyond 50%. So that's what do you think trucks use to bring all the food to the stores? So now and also the farm equipment, right? The tractors and all the farm equipment. That's what's shooting up all the price of your produce and fresh fruits and vegetables and meat and everything else, because it costs money to bring it from point A to point B. So we have to stabilize this economy, and not only that, we have to pass the budget. We have to balance this budget. I wrote the Navy's budget for 2 years. I wrote and balanced a $140 billion budget. I know how to do it. If we don't balance that budget, you know, these businesses that depend on the Navy, on the government's budget, they can't survive. Okay, who's the largest employer in this 10th district? It is the government contractor. And I'm not talking just about the large companies that might think, oh, well, Northrop Grumman, SASC, Lockheed Martin, all those big companies, they have a lot of money. No, but they also have subcontractors, which are the small businesses. And if a big business is losing money, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to cut the small businesses. So that's why they're destroying the small businesses. We have to stabilize the economy. We have to pass a 2-year budget so that the businesses can thrive and continue on. Because that's what hires Americans. That's what brings Americans to work every day. That's what pays for the food that goes on the table as well. And so that's what we have to do. The main priority is the economy, and the second one is the national defense. We have to secure the border for national defense. I mean, Trump said that earlier. That there's people we call them special interest aliens, SIAs, that are going across that border. You understand that there's Chinese, the CCP coming through the border, Syrians, Russians, Yemenis, Somalians. through the southern border. And what's going on the southern border? Down in Venezuela, a lot of the Iranians, they're shipping illegal, they're doing what's called illegal oil transfers to Venezuela, and they're trading it out for missile parts for their ballistic missile program so they can launch against Israel. The Russian Spetsnaz, their special forces, are training the ELN, which is the Liberation Front, against the Colombian government. The Chinese Communist Party is selling a lot of fentanyl to Colombia and other countries in South America and bringing it up through the border. In Trinidad and Tobago, the tiny little islands off of Venezuela, that's the #2 per capita largest supporter of ISIS fighters. Most of the ISIS fighters in the world come from Trinidad and Tobago. So the things that are happening in the southern border, they don't put it on the news, right? The media doesn't care about that stuff. They don't tell you what's going on through the news. But there's more than 15% of the people going across the border are not from South America. They're from places like Somalia, Yemen, Niger, Nigeria, all those places. They're not here to make this country better, I promise you. They're here to infiltrate our country and to destroy it. And that's why we have to secure that border in the name of national security.
I've got to thank the gentleman in the back. He asked my first question, and thank you for that feedback. I guess the other question I have for you, sir, I'm leaning forward and I'm thinking positively. We'll be going into Congress and you'll be representing us. But when I speak to citizens, and I chat a lot with folks, and I go and I hear what's going on in the deck plates. And the topic that keeps coming up over and over and over again, and I know it's a little out there for you because you'll be there in a 2-year term and you'll have to get in there and get business done. But the #1 topic that I hear, besides the 3 that you just mentioned and other things that we're dealing with right now, is term limits. These representatives and these congressmen have been in there way too long, and they're not representing all of our best interests. We have it as an example. President Biden's been in and around D.C. for upwards of 47 to 50 years. That's a long time. So I just ask you, first off, your thoughts on that. And if you are for term limits, would you tell us today that you'll start legislation with your brotherhood of folks that have served in the military to at least get term limits on the plate? Get it out there so people talk about it, because it's the big thing we haven't talked about for years. And these folks have been there way too long. And they all think that Kevin McCarthy is just the heir apparent Speaker of the House. And I'll tell you, on the deck plates and people that I'm talking to, he's an interesting individual, and it shouldn't just be a done deal that he becomes Speaker of the House. That's what's wrong. That's what's wrong when he thinks he just gets it. So I know I had a couple parts in there, but I thank you, Captain, for your time.
Well, thank you so much for that. So yes, I signed a pledge that I would honor term limits. And here's what the truth of it is, you have to grandfather those guys in. So anybody who's already there has to be exempt, or else they would never sign themselves out, right? I mean, what that'll do is we'll slowly make them, we'll slowly make it so that eventually people only serve so many terms in Congress, whether it's 3 or 4 in the House of Representatives and no more than 2 in the Senate. I mean, I'm totally for it, because you can't be in there too long. You have to leave there and feel the pain that you cause America, right? You have to go back to your former business and see the effects of what you did before that. And so I'm 100% for term limits. We have to do that, because, and I know some people will argue that, but there's going to be shadow government. No, there isn't, because yes, the professional staff members are there. There's that congressman is not reading all those legislation that's coming through. They have staff that does it. So the fear is that there's going to be a shadow government, but it's not. That's not the case. The shadow government happens when someone's in there that long. Because again, just like Joe Biden, Barbara Boxer has lost her mind, right? She's really not 100% there. So she relies on people. Well, Joe's been doing this forever, and he's or Pat or whoever her principal assistant is. That's the shadow government. Me as a commanding officer, when I come into a new command, I want when someone brings me something, and I ask why, the wrong answer is always going to be when they say, "Well, this is how it's always been done." Then no, bring me the instructions, bring me why why this is being done this way. And that's why if you get new fresh blood in there, they should always be asking, why are we doing it like this? They should be inquisitive enough to ask those questions. And that's why we need, like I said, we need term limits. Unfortunately, we won't be able to do it until the old guys are out, and we have to grandfather them in so that we can get this passed. And I have thought deeply about this, because that, I think that would be my crown jewel for when I leave Congress in a few years, is to have something like that in place to say, hey, starting in 2025, whatever, you know, all members of the House of Representatives are limited to either 3 or 4 terms, and we can even add in, hey, they're going to be the leader of the minority or majority leader, they can have 1 more term, and then likewise in the Senate, two terms maximum. Because we can't afford for people to be there that long. We don't want some upper class system that leads forever. And so, you know, we need term limits, absolutely. There's just too much, like I said, it's just too inbred in there. And you know, I'm telling you right now that Leader McCarthy understands that there's a new wave coming in, and he understands that, and he recognizes there's going to be a lot of first, you know, basically apolitical people that have not come in, and he's honored that the fact that we're coming in as a strong voice. So I have a lot of hope for him to do that. Again, he's going to be, you know, limited by what he can do, and if we don't get anything passed, then we will, then you know, it's to his detriment too. He doesn't see what the American voice is right now. So I have a whole lot of how do I say, hope that he will do the right thing for this country. But again, you know, no one's really announced that they're going to run yet, and I'm telling you right now, he's done a lot to bring in. He's brought a lot of money into the RMCC in order to help candidates like myself when I win a nomination. He understands that the way it is, and President Trump actually commended him for that, for bringing in so much money to help bring in the new candidates from outside. Is there any other question?
Well, my wife and I have been working in Loudoun County on election integrity, and we'd like to hear you speak about election integrity, how to improve that, give us more confidence. And part 2, which is January 6th, demonstrators who've been imprisoned, you know, for trespassing and some for just standing. You know, this is so corrupt in terms of our right to protest.
Thank you so much for that, sir. I mean, that is we go back to your which is election integrity. In places like Iraq and Afghanistan, I was able to ensure election integrity with this, right? Because we roll their fingers in ink, and it stays there for a week, and you can tell who's voted and who hasn't voted. Elections are left to the states, and I will totally support Governor Youngkin. I've spoken to Attorney General Miyares, and I know that they have a plan going. We have, again, this is the hope that we have, right? So in 2022, we're going to overturn the U.S. House of Representatives, and possibly even the Senate. In 23, we're going to turn over the state, Virginia state. Well, we already turned over the delegates. Now we need a state to turn over the Senate, which is what's standing in the way. And I would completely help whatever candidates run that are running in order to get them elected, so that we can overturn the rules. I mean, why do we need 45 days of early voting? I mean, I remember as a kid, my parents were so proud to wake up that first Tuesday in November. They got up very early, and they left the house before we came away. We were awake. They went to vote, and they came home. And you know, that's the honor of being an American. I know that my parents were so proud of being able to pass those votes on that first Tuesday of November every year. And so that's what we need to go back to. There's no reason for us to have 45 days of early voting and all these fraudulent things where hey, you don't because of COVID, right? You don't need somebody else to sign a witness signature. That's just garbage. And you're right. And this is a state level thing that I will completely stand by the side of the governor as well as the attorney general when they pass new laws, and especially when we overturn when we basically turn the state senate, so that we can rewrite those laws, those election laws. But you're right, there's a lot of fraudulent things. I mean, if you haven't seen 2,000 Mules, you need to, because it's pretty disturbing how the same man was bringing all these ballots 54 times to the same ballot box. And go back to the January 6th thing, you're absolutely right. Why is it that that you can use Bank of America and everything else to find that poor person who just happens to be in that area during that time and put him in prison illegally? I mean, I've had friends who've been fired from their jobs because the FBI just went in and said, well, we know you were working on this particular thing, and it basically scared the businesses, and they got fired. These are guys that are special operators that used to work with me. They were nowhere near that. Even their passes when they went to their work, because they work in a secure environment, they had the passes. It showed that they were not January 6th, but because of the FBI going in and bullying people, they're gonna make that basically they scared the employers. Now with that, you're able to find all those things out, but you can't find out who leaked the Roe versus Wade decision. I mean, we can do a lot of analytics on the forensics on electronic data and find out who did that, and they refuse to do that right now. And so I think honestly the FBI is going to be one of my targets too to look at. And I'm starting a little pack right now, not pack, but just I'm getting all the former FBI agents that used to work with me, the true FBI agents, guys who believe in law and order. And we're starting up a little organization where it's going to be special agents against FBI. They're mad. They're mad because these people like Peter Strzok are destroying what they believed in and what they served for 30 years.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
For my question, you just answered. You pick out two from your top priority. The first one, economics, and the second one is national security. I also think it's very important because I've been with the Young King campaign for the last 2 years, and I had the chance to meet Mr. Flip right there. What's about the school education? As you know, right now in the Fairfax County, Northern County, in Virginia, they bring in the work and CRB, and even my kid. And I paid some time to look at their homework and those kind of thing. It totally went to the social systems. So this is very dangerous, and I totally agree with her. In order to change or keep the safety for this country that have like a beacon for freedom, we have to start from the young kids. So if that the case in your priorities, education, and how you fix the system, especially those counties that the blue county, Fairfax and Loudoun, Arlington, they've been doing it for years. How you can do it? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So the role of school is to teach our kids reading, writing, and arithmetic, not to indoctrinate them. And my wife and I saw this years ago. That's why for the last 10 years she's homeschooled all of our kids, because she cannot have them be indoctrinated. And that's why and they did pretty well. I mean, my son goes to the Naval Academy, so she did a pretty good job teaching our kids. But that's the sacrifice we had to take for our family. It's not easy, and it's not cheap to homeschool. People think it's easy to homeschool. It's not. It's a lot of time that my wife spent with them. There's a lot of times there's a lot of gnashing of teeth, right? There's a lot of tears when they make she makes them redo work because it's not the right standard. And it's cost a lot. Like I said, it costs about $15,000 to $20,000 a year that we pay out of our pocket for homeschooling. But a lot of people don't have that luxury, and you're right. And this is one of those things where the problem is that when the money goes directly from the federal government to the school, that's wrong. In the military, we have what's called the chain of command. It should go from the federal government to the state, from the state to the county, and the county to the school. And that's by bypassing all that, you've taken the power away from the states and the school boards, as well as the parents, because then the parents aren't going to go protest against the Department of Education, right? They want to go talk to the school board and vote out the school board members if they, like in Loudoun County, that's going to happen next year, when we vote them all out. But my goal is, as someone who knows and understands how to write the budget, I will go in there at any time that there's any line items that go directly to the schools. I'm going to cut that out, right? We can't just say, hey, we're going to get rid of the Department of Department of Education. You do it by death by 1,000 cuts. You cut until there's nothing left there. And so I want to be able to go in and root out every single line item, especially the ones that say CRT or I forget what the other garbage word they use. They like to keep changing the words, right? I think it's like social, social emotional learning or something like that. It's just like I said, they can say communism, they can say equity. It's the same garbage. But I will root out all those things and cut all those line items. That's my power from the federal government, because I don't want to get in the way of the state. But as your representative, I will work side by side with the governor, with the Secretary of Education from the state of Virginia, whom I met this week, with this Attorney General. We will work with all the states in order to make sure that we're in line. I mean, my wife and I met the Lieutenant Governor last night, and wonderful woman, and we're ready to work together hand in hand to make sure the power goes back to the states and then back to you, especially for our kids' education and their future.
Yeah, just want to follow up, what do you think about the public school and school choice?
No, you're right. It's your money, right?
Yeah.
It's our money. We should be able to choose. But if I don't want to go to McDonald's, I get to go to Chick-fil-A, right? And so likewise, Chick-fil-A is great, by the way. But no, I can go. If I want to go to another school, then yes, you should be able to pull your kids out or go to a private school. Then you won't get all the money, but at least some of it is subsidized. Or for example, if we decide to homeschool, then that money that would have gone to the school that my kids would have gone to would go to that, because no better way to hold that principal accountable than when no one wants to go to their school, right? Because it's so bad that they have no funding and the school goes away.
And lastly, can I just follow up on the school system, because as an Asian American, I don't know if we all have been following the news. We seen that many schools, like TJ and Harvard and MIT, those schools start to go out with a new policy that eliminate the Asian American students to get into that. If you're speaking about equity or fair, to me it's not fair. And there also they now not continue with the entrance test, ASC system, all of those kind of things. That is wrong. Can you express?
No, you're absolutely right. So, in case you don't know, Thomas Jefferson 2 years ago changed the entrance criteria from a merit-based. So, when I went through when I took the test in 1984, we took this test and we had to write our resume and everything else, and they picked us based on how well we did on that test. And now they saw that it's always 73% Asians. Why? Because Asian parents. One of the things my parents taught me was, hey, they can take away your money, they can take away your status in life, but they can never take the knowledge that's in your head. That's why my parents used to force us to do homework. My mom would smack me all the time if I didn't. No, but that's what loving parents do. They force their kids to make sure that they learn. They learn enough so they can make it on their own. That's what my parents did, and they forced education on us. And they forced it, but they made it so that there's no other option than to study hard. Other families, hey, if they think that sports is the most important thing, if you have a kid like Tiger Woods, that's great. Send them to go to sports. But for us, I can't play in the NBA, right? So I'm gonna work at school. But so for Thomas Jefferson, they changed the criteria so that it's now a hybrid system where most of it is merit-based, and the other is they want to make sure they fulfill the demographics. So the Asian population there went from 73% over the last 20 years to now only 53%. And the problem there is that there's some kids that aren't prepared to come in there. Because we have a certain baseline. Everybody has to come in there already have taken algebra and geometry, so that you can finish up with calculus and differential equation. But some of these kids haven't even taken that, and so everybody's waiting on that slow kid that wasn't really meant to be in that school. And that was a problem with TJ. And you're right, and we have, I helped Senator Rick Scott with his Rescue America project. It's not that American Rescue, it's Rescue America, and part of it says colorblind equality. Don't let them change the words on you. Equality is not the same as equity. Equality means everybody gets the same start. Equity gives the same outcomes. That's not the same thing. That's like saying, hey, if we all went out there and run a mile, we should all finish at the same time. That's not how the world works, right? Some of us are blessed with that, some of us are not. And so certain people are better suited for certain schools than others. And not every kid needs to go to college, honestly. Some kids, we need to teach more vocational schools. There's so many kids that, how many people know guys who, they're not great at calculus and differential equations, but they can look at that engine of yours and they can fix it in a second. Those are the people we need. We need people that can fix and build things in this country. The vocational schools, I used to speak all the time. Since 2014, I used to speak at vocational school because, if you think about it, the military is a vocational school too, right? You teach them what's really what their passion is, and they come out from these vocational schools with ASC certified mechanics, FAA certified aviation mechanics, and certified LPNs and cosmetologists. They can do all these things. That's what we need to push also. It's not just the science and technology and mathematics, but also the vocational schools as well. But you're right. We need colorblind equality, not equity. We need colorblind equality. It doesn't matter what background you are. Just like I said, the NBA and NFL doesn't pick based on color and race. They pick on the ability.
All right. This will be the last questions. I will give him the microphone, of course. But before I do, I would like to let you all know that we have food, sandwich on the left side of this building on your exit, and also water serving on the other side. Just making sure during the meet and greet, the pictures session, please grab some and enjoy the food as well as take a picture with Mr. Hùng Cao. Here's a question.
Alright, my name is Hùng Cao. Thank you, Captain Cao, for your service and for stepping up the run you make us run. My question is, America has been traditionally a center-right country, but in the last 20 years, there's a lot of division, polarization. As you can see, a lot of major legislation passed from one party without very minimum support from the other party, whether it's Obamacare, whether it's tax cut. So somehow we used to be like very united, and now we're growing more and more divided, right? We can say, it's the other guy's fault, and they say, oh, it's your fault, what's your thought on that? How do we get back to the center? How do we get more common voice instead of giving like to the left or to very extreme to the right? What's your thought about that? Thank
you. Somehow I don't understand how the Democrats, if you have 10 issues and you come close to which is one, they'll stick together. But for Republicans, sometimes you have 10 issues and you agree on 9, but then one of them you don't agree on and they turn against you. And we as the Republican Party need to stick together because we keep doing this thing called compromise when the other side doesn't. And it's like I said, it's time for us to not yield any more room. And I know that goes against what you're trying to say is like compromise. And that forces them to say, okay, where can we now work together, and you give some and I give some, the other. The other part is, again, I wanted to thank the Vietnamese community for their support. There's 2 million Vietnamese in this area, right? Not in this area, but in the United States. 2 million of them. And I've become their voice. And what that allows me to do is talk to the Democrat representative in those areas, like in Orange County or Houston, Texas, and help them to understand that, hey, your constituents don't want this because I'm their voice. And so if we bring other the minority groups up that have big enclaves, like the Indian Americans, the Chinese Americans, the Korean Americans, right? You have Young Kim and Michelle Steele out there in California. If they can pull their demographics, not just in Orange County, but around the country, and unite and force those representatives to see that their constituents don't see that, that's how we're going to be able to turn this. Because so many times the Asian community, we just sit back and we're just quiet, right? We just sit in the back and we're like, well, you know, it's okay, it's just, that's not our problem, we just do our thing. But no more. We can't do that anymore. We have to stand up. We have to stand up for our children and their children and their children's children. Because if we don't do it now, we won't have anything left. And this is going to turn into communist China, or it's going to be turned into communist Vietnam. We have to stand up and we have to be strong as a voice. Because what do those representatives want? They want to stay in forever, right? They want power. And if they don't have the power from their people, if the people don't vote for them, then that's what's going to happen. And so so it's not just representatives from a certain district. We have to reach out to our community, our internal community, and force it. Look, my heart is always American, but my blood is also Vietnamese. So like I said before, I'm the son of two nations. And so we have to pull our American roots here, but also our Vietnamese blood or Chinese blood or the Korean blood, and get that around the country to stand up and say no. Say no to that representative that wants to vote to kill babies and to destroy everything that we have through wokeness, through Marxism, through CRT. We tell them no. If you want us to vote you out, then we'll do that, because we're going to rise up as a nation within this country and say no more. And that's how we're going to do that.
Thank you, Captain. That concludes our event today. Just another before the closing. Pretty much Captain Hong already wrapped up everything in terms of term limit, education systems, and how we proceed across and move forward and save America. The one thing that I got is that from the experience of Vietnamese American history, we've been fooled one time when they said the power of unity. They call what Hòa giải dân tộc, and guess what happened at the end of the war? The same guy who pushing that power of unity is the one who actually surrendered to the communists. So what is the point of trying to be compromising with other and give up your belief, your values? You got to stick to your gun, and that is the reason why we as a Vietnamese American and also American in general had to back him up and send him straight to Congress, because I believe that Captain Hùng Cao, with his leadership, his experience, will help us to bring America back. Thank you.
The farm brewery, the Haymarket. Bring your friends, bring the kids. There's going to be a lot of things for the kids to do. There's a lot of beer for the men, and then and there's a lot of food too. We catered from Mission Barbecue, so please be there. Like, we want to get a big rally going, and then the next day, Saturday, 9 to 4. You can't just vote anywhere you want. There's only 10 places to go vote. So make sure you check where to go vote. But bring your friends. We have to stand up. The time to fight is now. Okay, we can't be silent anymore. We have to stand up and win the fight. Thank you so much for being here.
We need your support in terms of your financial, if you can, in terms of even a small check or something, but still your names on the check that's pretty much showing the support for Captain Hùng Cao. We need more of you to do that. And the right way to do that is, I hope everybody knows that when you make a check, make sure you write it pay to Hong Kong for Congress. All right, and hopefully that we continue this effort into the 21st of May. Thank you. All right, please make sure you grab your food and come up for a picture. Thank you. Also, hold on, Captain Kung. Captain,